Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hi, my name is Celeste and I like to talk about true crime cases. If you know, I am doing the serial killer coloring book, The Bloody Alphabet, and the one person everyone keeps asking for is John Wayne Gacy. And unfortunately, he's not in this coloring book. He might be in another, but he's not in the one that I am currently working on. So I thought I could just make a video about him. That way you guys can get a better information on the background of John Wayne Gacy and all the crimes that he committed and what he did. He was also known as the Killer Clown, and we'll get into more details as to why that was. Gacy was born on March 17th, 1942 in Chicago, Illinois. So Gacy and his siblings grew up with a heavily alcoholic father. So his father was physically and verbally abusive to the children. And he actually also physically assaulted Gacy's mother as well. So growing up, Gacy deeply loved his father, and he was always trying to find acceptance from his father. But he never really won him over, and Gacy's father ended up passing away on Christmas Day in 1965. He ended up being really alienated in school, and one of the reasons was because he had a heart condition. This heart condition, his father actually saw it as him being a failure. He soon realized he was actually attracted to other men, and he was very confused over his sexuality. So he attended 4 different high schools, but he never graduated. He ended up dropping out of school and heading to Vegas. So when he moved to Vegas, he ended up finding a job, and he worked at a part-time mortuary as a janitor. And he wasn't there long, but he just ended up realizing he didn't like Vegas, so he ended up moving back to Chicago. He ended up meeting his wife, and soon after they transferred to Waterloo, Iowa. From there, his father-in-law asked him to take over the family business, which he would be managing the family's chicken restaurant. He became very well known and liked within the community. The reason he was called a killer clown was because he ended up working as a clown, and within his community there was a club. It was called the Jolly Joker Clown Club, and this club, they would frequently go to children's parties or other organizations and fundraisers and dress up as the clown and just entertain the children there. So his alter ego was known as Pogo the Clown or Patches the Clown. So the first time he was arrested was in 1968. It was actually a felony charge. He tried to coerce his male employee into sexual acts. When people around the community found out about this, they were in shock. So he ended up pleading guilty to sodomy, and he was sentenced to 10 years in prison. His wife of 2 years ended up filing for a divorce, and this is when Gacy ended up telling her that he never wanted to see his children again, and that he would consider her and the 2 children dead. He ended up marrying a woman who was recently divorced, and the two met through mutual friends. They moved into a house in Des Plaines with the help of his mother, and then in February 1971, he ran into trouble with the law again. He ended up being charged with attempted rape of a young man. Well, the charges ended up being dropped because the man never appeared in court. So on December 11th, 1978, a 15-year-old boy went missing. His name was Robert Peast. Police looked straight at Gacy, and the reasoning for this was because in the mid-1970s, 2 young boys actually went to police accusing Gacy of rape. Police questioned him, but nothing came of it. It would later be found out that Gacy referred to this time period as his cruising years. And the reasoning for that was this is the time that he committed most of his murders. So this 15-year-old boy that went missing, the last person to see him was his mother. And his mother saw him at a drugstore where he worked. He actually planned on meeting up with Gacy that day to go and try and get a job at the construction site where Gacy was actually in charge of. Based on that information, the police were actually able to get a search warrant for Gacy's home. When police showed up at Gacy's house to look around, they actually went underneath his house. They had this little crawl space, and as soon as they went underneath, they just smelled a really, really bad odor. The first thing they thought was, oh, it must be just backed up sewage. There must be something wrong within the pipes. And this is when it just got dismissed. After that, they ended up getting whatever they could. They ran tests on the evidence that they were able to collect. As they were looking through this evidence, they actually found that one of the items they picked up was of huge significance. They found a ring that belonged to a boy who actually disappeared earlier that year. So now that they have this new information, they obviously got a second search warrant. It was later discovered that Gacy actually committed his first murder in 1972, and he actually took the life of a 16-year-old boy named Timothy McCoy after luring this boy to his house. So once all this happened, Gacy knew that he was going to be in trouble because he knew that the police were finally figuring out what he was actually doing. So he confessed. He murdered about 33 young men over the past 7 years. And he also drew them a detailed map of 28 shallow graves underneath his house and also in his garage. He then admitting to dumping 5 bodies in the Des Plaines River. Gacy ended up telling detectives that there's going to be 4 Johns. So there was John the contractor, John the clown, John the politician, and the last person actually went by Jack Hanley. And Jack was the one who killed and did all of these evil things. So just to clear that up, he says that, so his name is obviously John Wayne Gacy, and within him, there's those 4 different Johns. So shortly after jury deliberation, they found Gacy guilty of committing 33 murders. He ended up becoming known as one of the most ruthless serial killers in U.S. history. He was sentenced to serve 12 death sentences and 21 natural life sentences. And that is the story of John Wayne Gacy. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, go ahead and press that subscribe button and then make sure you turn on bell notifications. That way you get notified every time I post a new video. Until next time, bye guys.